Good evening, everyone. And it's quite a throng. This is an extremely auspicious and important evening in the history of Lawrence Park Community Church. My name is Daniel Rubinoff, and I am the Director of Music at Lawrence Park Community Church. And before we begin, as we often do in church services, there are a few housekeeping rules because we have many guests who've come from afar. They're even situated afar. And so for those of you who are newcomers in the spirit of the United Church's radical hospitality, I'm going to tell you that there are an array of washrooms down the hall, including some special ones. And so you can find one that will work for you. We'd ask you at this time if you could silence your phones and other recording devices. There's no need to record tonight because we have really good equipment here. Thousands of dollars were spent to outfit us with a really good setup. So you don't have to worry about that. And I believe it will be ready on Monday, I think. Yes, so probably Monday or Tuesday. So this concert is going to be recorded and posted on our Lawrence Park Community Church YouTube channel. Just another housekeeping note, there will be a brief intermission. And we want it to be brief, so if you have, that's a good time to visit our lovely washrooms. And, but as you can see, the tables there that Judy has prepared are Spartan, and that's very intentional, so that you're not distracted by any libations. But there will be libations at the end, and we really, really strongly encourage and invite and extol you to come and partake in honor of Mark Toews. And that's why we're here tonight. We're here to celebrate a revered musician who served his muses with quiet dignity and dedication. By all accounts, Mark Toews was a private person, a man of few words, who consecrated himself to his sacred calling. A career church musician and a gifted organist whose 30 years at this very church have left a lasting legacy. He was deeply respected by his fellow musicians from around the world, and he traveled widely in search of new music and new inspiration. It is upon his shoulders that I now stand. Thank you, Mark, for dedication, for service, for steadfastness, for resilience and flexibility in the wake of the changing church. In the spirit of this season of renewal, let me declare, Mark, that you will never be forgotten, and your continued inspiration will always be a source of renewal for me and for those of us fortunate enough to be a part of the music ministry here at Lawrence Park Community Church. Tonight, the music, and I must thank the choir, the Lawrence Park Choir especially, for helping me choose music for someone I didn't know. Tonight, this music reflects Mark's eclectic taste and his determination to commission top-ranked composers from Canada and also internationally. From Canada, we were so fortunate tonight to hear the work of two recent Order of Canada recipients, Eleanor Daly and Mark Surrett. These are two of Mark Toews' esteemed colleagues and friends. We will also hear great music from Bob Chilcott, the celebrated English composer with whom Mark forged a deep bond. And finally, Canadian composer Paul Halley's music, which speaks and intones hope for humanity and the earth, will also be performed. And it is really this picture, musical picture, that really represents the incredible immensity of Mark Toews' legacy, not only for his dedication to the choir, but also in bringing in all these wonderful musical personalities. I just want to say a couple of brief things before we get the music underway. Something about Eleanor Daly's Trinitas, and she's actually sitting over here. So it's a great pleasure, Eleanor, to have you here with us. It's indeed an honor. And this Trinitas organ work was commissioned by Mark for the installation of this magnificent instrument, the Florence Grand Cassavant, which dates 1998. And I think it's really symbolic of this close collaboration among musical colleagues that Mark valued so much. Eleanor, who was primarily a choral composer, one of the most prolific that this country's ever produced, eventually intuited that she needed a text for each of the three movements that you're going to hear. This was in order to get her creative juices flowing. And this is why we get these beautiful inscriptions following every movement. And it is this connection to text and music that Mark Toews really loved. And as Reverend John Suk commented often, Mark was extremely astute at combining theology with music, something that not every musician can do. Mark Surratt, who's also here, it's so wonderful to have you here, Mark. He is a close friend and colleague of Mark Toews, and this relationship resulted in the commission of a piece befitting the 75th anniversary of the church. And again, this shows collaboration and celebration, always in the service of this church and its important milestones. For the music of creation, Surratt's world premiere tonight uses the text of Shirley Arena Murray, and again, Mark had a hand in collaborating with Mark Surratt on the text and the use of his beloved bells. And there they are over here waiting so patiently. So this is truly reflective of a wonderful collaboration. And finally, Mark cared deeply for all facets of music ministry. And he had a special fondness for the younger generation. So he was already thinking about the perpetuity of the church. His children's choir, co-led by our wonderful soprano soloist Kimberly Briggs, brought joy to all and planted a musical seed in the lives of countless children who are now keen adult amateurs of music. From this place, from this sanctuary, from this hallowed ground, beauty comes. Thank you, Mark. And so, settle on the edge of your seats. Don't get too comfortable for a world premiere by the one and only Mark Surratt. And I think it's only fitting that we imagine that Mark is with us. He's hearing the sounds of this wonderful collaboration, this wonderful creation, in a place he loved, sung by people he loved, in a sanctuary that was his home for 30 years. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, let us remember the great Mark Toews. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you, choir. That was wonderful. Thank you, bell ringers and Daniel. My name is Reverend Stephen Milton, and I'm the lead minister here at Lawrence Park Community Church. And I arrived here 5 years ago. And at that point, Mark had been here for 28 years. So I knew that he was going to be way ahead of me on all things Lawrence Park. And he really was. Immediately, it was obvious, he was a wonderfully gifted musical director and musician. He could make the organ cry or laugh, sing or pray. He had an absolutely encyclopedic memory for church music. I remember once I was walking down the hallway and he stopped me and he said, "So what's your sermon about this week?" And I told him and he said, "So what scripture are you using?" And I told him and he, just for a second, he went, "Yeah, Voices United 422 would be good for that, and maybe 313 too." He just had the whole hymn book in his head. He knew exactly what was right. He grew up playing the piano, taught by his mother. And when he was a teenager, he started playing the organ. And someone asked him, "Why are you switching from the piano to the organ?" And he said, "Well, the piano's kind of easy." He loved the complexity of the organ. He loved the fact that he had to use all of his limbs at once, as well as that marvelous mind to make the music. Now, that makes it sound like the organ was an effortless thing for Mark, but that doesn't quite capture it. Mark loved the complexity of organ music and worked very hard each week on every piece that he played. On the weekday afternoons, these hallways were filled with the sound of him rehearsing. All afternoon long, we would hear him rehearsing. When the pandemic came, everything changed, of course, and we weren't having, services on Sunday mornings, but that didn't stop him from rehearsing. But the trick was, at the early part of the pandemic, we weren't broadcasting live. All the music was pre-recorded. So Mark would be sitting there at that wonderful organ with an iPhone on a tripod, and he'd be recording his preludes and postludes over and over and over again. I remember walking out once and asking Mark, "So how's it going?" And he went, "Still don't have it." Because if even one note was out of place, that take was ruined. So Mark really dedicated himself to the music. But I think Mark's greatest love was for the people here. As my predecessor, Reverend John Sukas, said, Mark was as much a pastor as he was a musician. He was a wonderful choir director, getting the best sound possible out of our choir, but he also deeply cared about these people. From children's choirs to youth choirs to the adult choir, Mark built relationships of care and concern. His choirs were safe places for all. And in John Suk's word, whether you were aria material or you couldn't read a note, Mark always made a place for you in the choir. He knew the choir well, often for decades. These people were family. And often in staff meetings, when we would ask, how's everybody doing in the congregation? Is there anybody ill? Does anybody need a call? Mark would always know, and often because he'd already made the pastoral call. Mark weathered many storms here over his 30 years. He saw ministers come and go. Some of you I know haven't been here since one of those ministers said, "Hey, I know, let's turn the whole place around." So yeah, the pews are gone, and you did used to face that way. Mark saw all those changes come and go, and sometimes there were ministers who weren't real interested in the liturgical calendar, but you could always tell what day it was, whether it was Trinity Sunday or Reformation Sunday, by the music that was being played, even if you had no hint of what day it was based on what was being said at the pulpit. Mark loved church music. Mark felt that church music was holy and a tradition that needed to be carried on. And so, as a result, he had the choir and himself perform music from the classic repertoire of church music. But he believed that church music was a living thing, something that was alive today. So he consciously sought out composers who were still making church music, but for today's sound. And as Daniel has said, we're going to be hearing some of those sounds from Eleanor Daly and Bob Chilcott and others. This is music which Mark wanted to keep alive by showing that sacred music could continue, not just for another year or two, but another 50 or 100. And it's entirely possible that some of the pieces that we hear tonight, people will still be hearing a century from now, one of which because it premiered here. And now I would like all of you to join in that tradition, because now we're going to rise as you are able and sing a hymn that Mark loved. And the words are in your bulletin. So please rise as the choir rises, and we will sing our first hymn, Christ Our Sure Foundation.
I'd like to thank my friend Daniel Rubinoff for the invitation to be part of this wonderful evening and the honor and the privilege. There are so many threads that lead into the combination of people and music, this magnificent instrument, and of course Mark's memory that lead me here tonight. So thank you, Daniel, for that privilege. What a tremendous privilege for me also to take part in a reprise, probably by now one of hundreds or thousands of times this work has been played since 1998, when it was created for the inauguration of the Florence Grand organ. Now, I don't suppose I will surprise very many people if I say that I think the organ is a pretty special instrument. And there are many musicians here who play other instruments very, very well, and they're probably rolling their eyes now and thinking, okay, sure, Dawes, you're biased, so just be quiet. But stay with me. There are three things that the organ does in a unique and powerful way. 3 is a very important number in this work, as you've probably noticed. And these are the 3 things: mystery, melancholy, and magnificence. The organ, as I conceive it, as I came to love it as a much younger person, and as the audiences and congregations that I'm still privileged to play it for, react most strongly to these 3 things: mystery, melancholy, and magnificence. These 3 things are encapsulated beautifully by this work, which I am terrified and delighted to play in the presence of Eleanor Daly, the composer who is with us this evening. In fact, Eleanor shared with me that she too is terrified because she is going to play the middle movement. So Eleanor and I, terrified together, but delighted to share this beautiful music, which fortunately is now being shared constantly across Canada and beyond. So we hope you enjoy, spread through the course of this evening's program, Trinitas by Eleanor Daly.
Hello and good evening. My name is Paul Winkelmans, and I've been the bass soloist here at Lawrence Park for 7 years. I also had the honor of serving as the interim music director between Mark and Daniel's tenures, and I'm very glad to be able to say a few words about Mark tonight. Mark has left an incredible legacy at Lawrence Park. His musical initiatives enriched the lives of so many. The handbell choir, that continues to this day, the children's choir, the musicals that brought the congregation together. There were the special services for Good Friday, where the choir would sing one of the great classical works, and Mark would step out to conduct and invite a guest organist in. And the Fridays at 8 concerts, which would bring in amazing guest musicians, either joining the choir in musical celebration or showcasing their own special talents. These concerts are part of the reason we're all here tonight, right about on 8 o'clock. In addition to his work here, Mark also served as the president of the Royal Canadian College of Organists and led the Toronto chapter for several years in addition. He pursued new experiences, always looking for the next great work to bring to the church or to the choir. His ability to foster musical relationships is well demonstrated by the wonderful musical guests joining us here tonight, and all of you who join us in this tribute. One very notable friendship was with the British composer Bob Chilcott. Bob was commissioned to write the Lawrence Park hymn, Awake as in the Skies Above, for the church's 60th anniversary in 2005, and you will hear this later tonight. Bob also came to visit us here at Lawrence Park multiple times. There was one memorable visit where he conducted the Fridays at 8 concert with the choir, and the next morning, Saturday morning, did a workshop corresponding with the release of his Anthems Anthology, this book here, which includes a very special dedication. The text from John, chapter 14, verses 15 to 17, is commonly known in a setting by Thomas Tallis. But Bob wrote a new setting, for which is included here the dedication for Mark Toews and the Lawrence Park Community Church Choir, Toronto. Here is Bob Chilcott's If You Love Me.
Thank you so much, Paul, for all that you did before my arrival here, and guest soloists and choir, and Peter Rapson. Another round of applause for Peter's beautiful Bach playing, please. Just a brief word about Peter. He is a Lawrence Parker, as I like to say. And he collaborated with Mark on many, many occasions, so it's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming from Ottawa. I know a lot of people want to leave Ottawa now to come to Toronto, but that's a whole other story. So it's wonderful for you to come. We're going to feature him on this next hymn that we're all going to sing. A Light is Gleaming, another beautiful hymn that was one of Mark's favorites and completely different character. So again, it just shows Mark's aesthetic breadth. And we're also thrilled to have Kenny Kirkwood, wherever he is. He was also a frequent collaborator of Mark's. Wonderful, multi-talented saxophonist and percussionist. And our very own Ali Reza is here. Bill O'Mara on the organ, who's he and I done a few concerts together over the years, and it's great to have Bill here. And also J.C. Coolin, our wonderful bell-ringing maestro with the best initials in the Christian faith. J.C. Coolin.